red meat, is it a harbinger of cancer and death? Did you know that the World Health Organization has released a study declaring that hot dogs cause cancer, bacon causes cancer, and all processed meats cause cancer? And they say stay away from all red meat. Now, a heavy consumer of all the three above mentioned products will definitely develop cancer by the time they're 50 years old. The sodium nitrate and sodium nitrates do not go well with your digestive system and body system. And even eating an excessive amount of red meat will cause cancer, according to the World Health Organization. But you see, they used all corn-fed beef and pork to do this with, and they combined both of them. They didn't break it down as to whether it was beef or whether it was the pork that was causing the cancer. But the why is in question. That the World Health Organization and their research groups have failed to answer. Why does red meat cause the cancer? And does all red meat cause cancer, or just some, or one? Well, you know, they studied the effects of bacon, eating a lot of bacon, sausages, hot dogs, ham, pepperoni and such, all contain an unhealthy meat and protein that comes in them because it comes from the pig. God says not to eat it. So they eat it, they put all these preservatives and flavorings into it and spices and say, oh, it's good for you. It's a good source of protein. But it's the wrong protein. And when these are saturated with the chemicals, you know, like I mentioned, sodium nitrate, these meats produce very deadly toxins. They become so deadly that it can cause first polyps in your intestines and stomach, and then you start getting all sorts of bowel problems. Constipation is more common with people that eat processed meat than it is the ones that don't. But you can be guaranteed, assured that problems will develop. Now, beef that is free-range, grass-fed, shows no problems when eaten in moderation and not overcooked. What they found is once you fry it in canola oil, it becomes carcinogenic. Canola oil is a GMO oil that is not good for your body. But is it the oil or is it the meat that was actually carcinogenic? 3 to 6 ounces per day and up to 8 ounces in a stew can be eaten. No problems. Boiled meat seems to show the least amount of harm potential to the human body. You know, and it's surprising how much you can eat before there's any problems whatsoever. And the best, like for the deep red meats, is when it's made into a stew. It must never be cooked in aluminum. If you cook your meat in aluminum, it always causes toxicity problems. Will send up your blood pressure. Will cause insulin upset. It releases the wrong insulin hormone into your system. Now, meat must never be cooked with MSG. With anything containing aspartame or the sodium nitrates. Nor should it ever be stored in aluminum wrappings. What's one of the most common wrappings?
Aluminum.
Aluminum. Wow. And what do they always show you put it in there? Meat. Cook it with, cover your meat with aluminum foil so that the heat pushes the aluminum elements into your meat. Well, they know that stockyard beef that has been fed corn and corn byproducts and animal byproducts are extremely dangerous. Bovines that have been infected with or injected, shall we say, with growth hormones, meat tenderizers, antibiotics, and other forms of histamines are also dangerous because these products do not break down in the animal or in your body, but they attach themselves and prevent healing. And then cooking the meat at a high temperature activates the chemical tenderizers even more as they become more condensed in active salt forms. So if it tenderized the beef while it was on the hoof and you put it in high heat on a stove, you grill it or you put it on a fry pan at high heat, well, what's it doing? It's condensing it so it becomes more active. And then it gets into your stomach, and what do you think it does? Causes stomach upset. Irritable bowel syndrome. Nasty. I don't know how many have lived with irritable bowel syndrome, but I've had quite a few people in my life that have had it. And wow, can they be whiny and out of it. But they still insist on cooking their meat at high temperatures. Overcooking the meat at high temperature. And they don't care that it's carcinogenic, and then they say, how did I get this? How did I get that? Well, what are you doing to your food? What are you doing to your food? What are you calling food that shouldn't be called food? Now, histamine poisoning from corn and corn byproducts often cause severe joint pains and ligament pains. And it is one of the surest ways to induce arthritis in your system. The next is to eat pig meat, but the best way to induce it is to eat corn. How many enjoy pain in their joints? How come there's no hands up? How many like eating corn? Popcorn, corn on the cob.
Popcorn, yeah. Popcorn's not good.
No, you can have a little bit every 2 weeks,
Won't be up there for ages.
but not on a regular basis. Popcorn is not good for you. And in the end, it starts putting a lot of weight on you. It doesn't have many calories in itself, but because the body's trying to dilute the almost the histamines that are formed in your body, it's trying to dilute that out. You start eating more and drinking more, but it produces a fat cell that wants to retain water and retain stuff to try and dilute the concentrations of this histamine. It's has an effect of unawareness. You know, when you can't concentrate on something, that's your histamine levels too high. You get that out of your milk too. High histamines. It'll affect learning. You know, when you can't remember things and you just went through them, you just went from one room to the next and you can't remember what you went into that room for. Histamine levels too high. And other mental activities become very difficult to perform, if not impossible. Remembering a song, remember a person's name, that's a different section of your brain that's getting used. And it's being shut down by the amount of histamines in your system. Long-term exposure can cause the body's immune system to go amok and attack the body. Especially the nerves become sensitive to touch. Some of the fibrosis there's quite common for it.
Fibromyalgia.
Fibromyalgia is a chief thing in there because the homocysteines and the histamines in your system cause the body's immune system to attack the nerves next to the skin first, then the joints. So but it has a lot to do with corn and taking in what type of meat you're taking in. Also induced homocysteines from red meats prevent the body from destroying cancer cells because too much of the energy is consumed fighting and repairing the damage done by the excessive histamines being taken in by the meat and milk. So is it dangerous? Allergies reactions are developed by excessive histamine counts in your system. That's why you're not supposed to give babies pasteurized cow's milk until they're over a year old, preferably about a year and a half or a year and 3/4 before they first get into cow's milk. Goat's milk is different. You can give it to any time, but not cow's milk. What's the difference? Goats will not eat corn. You know what they do? They urinate on it when you present it to them. They won't eat it.
What about a mother passing that on during pregnancy if they have that to their child and then the child having allergies?
It will direct link passing from what I've understood. Allergy reactions that are developed by this excessive histamine counts from corn-fed animals and from eating corn takes roughly 5 to 7 years to diminish in your body. You gotta stay free from it that long. As a note of interest, corn-fed beef and milk are currently being looked at as a cause for birth defects and developmental problems in human babies. And it's amazing how many animals hate to have anything to do with corn. Cattle will only eat it because they're forced to eat it. And the more they eat, it causes them discomfort and gas, so they want to keep eating to try and push whatever's in their system out. But it doesn't work that. Sometimes their whole system blows up because of the corn. Corn will make good whiskey. Okay? You can use corn in making whiskey. Because there's something in the process that changes the proteins that would normally form the histamines.
Could we have a practical demonstration of that?
Yes, you can go buy yourself a Mickey and try some. Don't overdo it. Red meat has a stressor built into it. It's called hemi-iron. Hemi-iron? H-E-M-E is iron. When levels are high, it causes cellular stress, which encourages the body to produce homocysteines. The additional stresses in life cause high level of homocysteines to develop regardless. But it also produces homocysteines and let's see, what's the other one? It's just like it, but anyway, there's another thing that it will develop in your body. It starts with an H too. And this will cause strokes, heart attacks, unless a sufficient amount of B3, B6, and 12 are present in one's diet. And as you get over 40, the stomach has more trouble absorbing these vitamins. Until by the time you're 60, it cannot absorb them from the stomach. Only what you chew properly in your mouth does it get absorbed out of the food that's in your mouth, which is very little, because most people have lost a lot of their teeth from all the sugar content in their diet, and they can't chew their food, so stuff gets swallowed, and they don't have the B3, 6, and 12. And we have an epidemic of strokes and heart attacks at this time going on. When homocysteine levels get over 18, red meat, hemi-iron, and even a cup of coffee can cause a heart attack. When your body is fighting high hemi-iron and high homocysteine levels, cancer can grow rapidly. It's called galloping cancer develops. Because the white blood cells are misdirected away from the cancer cells by all this high reading of the iron. It can't identify a cancer cell from a normal cell. So it attacks the normal cells and leaves the cancer cells alone. And excessive sugar splurges will then cause the cancer to even grow more rapidly. And a lot of the medications that they give cancer patients, that we get them to have these little bottles of high sugar content, apple flavored, and guess what it has in them? Corn byproduct. They're killing them. But we must remember that every stressor, poison or toxin we add to our body and our lifestyle will increase the risk of cancer and deplete our immune system. It can't maintain when you're deliberately poisoning yourself. Now, because pig meat is so close to the human body, the meat, the flesh on your body, it takes more energy. I believe it's 98% of the energy that is received from it to go back into breaking it down and consuming it. But then you see the protein mixes that it uses to break down pig meat gets transferred and starts attacking the stomach, the intestines, and when it does that, you have constant bleeding. You develop ulcers. And yet, when this is shown, people won't back off what they're doing. They won't change their lifestyle. And yet they're blanketing red meat is all bad, but it isn't. Aluminum is a stressor that is extremely common but rarely identified and diagnosed because of the variety of conditions and symptoms that it can produce. Corn is another stressor that is extremely common and rarely identified with the symptoms it produces. Most often diagnosed as arthritis, joint disease, or the flu, or an allergy to mold. And it's really corn that they're allergic to. Cow's milk is a very common stressor that creates allergies with prolonged use. Cows are force-fed corn. Their milk and meat have toxic levels of histamines in them. This becomes a cancer activator. And even more potent when pasteurized and homogenized milk is used. It has an ability to do great damage. Lamb, goat, and grass-fed animals like deer, elk, caribou, free-range bovine, all seem to be cancer resistors. They help your body resist cancer. When excessive amounts of red meat are not consumed, then red meat seems to have no side effects, but have a prevention in the system. And as reported earlier, boiled meat seems to be the best for the body's digestive system. Slow cooked boiled meat. Overcooked meats and fried meats have the greatest risk of causing problems right behind processed meats. You know, people like their hamburgers extremely well done. But as soon as it gets gray to the center, it's no longer pink in the center but gray. It's turned from being a benefit to your system to a carcinogenic, a stressor on your system. The only way you can have that gray finish to the meat is to boil it, and then it doesn't have the negative processes in it.
can you boil it and fry it a little bit?
No,
No? No
No.
frying?
So it should be pink. Should be pink.
if you're frying meat or cooking meat in the oven, it should have a pink center. So in closing, we say, eat wisely, eat healthy, and live long in God's blessings.